On May 8, 2026, Claude Mythos hit METR's ceiling. When a model saturates the test, that sounds wild. One chart says 16 plus hours, which looks enormous, but the number was not a new score. It was a ruler failure. The source is Jinji Yuan, but the bigger question is how an industry ran out of a ruler. So let's get into what actually broke. First, time horizon does not mean Mythos sat there autonomously for 16 hours. It means tasks that take human experts that long are where the agent's success curve crosses a reliability threshold. The famous line is 50%. In other words, this is task difficulty measured in human time. The reason everyone reacted so hard is the slope. METR's older fit looked like a 7-month doubling time. The task completion time horizons update pushed the recent estimate toward 89 days since 2024. That does not prove super exponential growth, but this brutal 89-day compression absolutely changes the pressure on evaluation. The Mythos story started messier than a normal launch. A March 26 cache leak exposed draft Anthropic material, including the Mythos name and the Capybara codename. Anthropic then confirmed it as a step change. By April, the model existed publicly, but not as a normal product. The release restriction is the first big clue. Anthropic's own security page frames Mythos as cyber-capable enough that offense could accelerate faster than defense. The page points to Firefox exploit generation and control flow hijack results. That means this was not just another benchmark victory lap. Project Glasswing is the operational answer. Anthropic gives defenders early access, while companies like Apple, Google, Microsoft, NVI, DIA, and Palo Alto sit inside the response network. The bet is simple. If defenders get a head start, they can close holes before comparable capability becomes broadly available. The outside confirmation comes from the UK AI Security Institute. AISI reports 73% success on expert cyber capture the flag tasks, and 3 out of 10 end-to-end completions on the last one's range. But the cooling tower failure matters too. Mythos is powerful, not omnipotent. Mozilla is the most concrete user-side signal. Mozilla shipped a massive 423 Firefox security fixes in April 2026, and Mythos identified 271 vulnerabilities. The optimistic version is obvious. A defender harness can turn frontier cyber skill into patch throughput before the same skill becomes attacker throughput. But the harness is doing real work. The model proposes an exploit path, tests confirm or reject it. Humans triage the report, and only then does a patch ship. This is why unhobbling matters. Better scaffolds can make the same underlying model look much more capable. Meanwhile, Palo Alto Networks puts a timer on the darker side of the story. Unit 42 says 3 weeks of model-assisted analysis matched roughly a year of manual penetration testing. It also warns that initial access to exfiltration can collapse toward an absurd 25 minutes. That is the defensive clock. Now, zoom out. This is a 5-year arc, not one viral chart. The origins and creation story run through January 2026, MIT Technology Review, and a Leopold Aschenbrenner-style vocabulary. It also rhymes with Opus Regression Saga. Sonnet retirement, dreaming outcomes, multi-agent orchestration, managed agents, the April showdown, and the Colossus deal. The first interpretation is the narrowest and probably the safest. Build a harder benchmark. METR has only 5 of 228 tasks at or above 16 hours, and longer tasks are expensive to baseline. The old era measured ImageNet top 1 accuracy, Wikitext perplexity, GLUE, Superglue, BIG bench, Human Eval, and SWE bench verified. This ridiculous 16-hour bottleneck is labor, not just statistics. The second interpretation is the skeptic's warning. Fast progress is not the same as a clean countdown. Gary Marcus wrote that 50% is a low bar and higher reliability thresholds still matter. Sidney von Arx warned that people are reading too much into the graph, especially whether a Mythos result, transfers beyond Python and software work. The third interpretation is cyber. This one does not require a grand AGI prediction. If attack chain timing compresses faster than patch timing, defenders have a concrete problem right now. Regulation enters before the open source versus closed source battle is settled. That is why the Glasswing pattern feels less like marketing and more like emergency infrastructure. At the same time, the fourth interpretation is capital. NVIDIA's massive $40 billion plus customer financing story matters, because compute supply, inference capacity, and capability progress are now tied together. If the demand is real, the flywheel compounds. If finance demand cracks, the benchmark curve can hit a capital bottleneck before the algorithms slow down. Here's the clean synthesis. Nobody is really fighting about the core facts. METR is saturated. Mozilla's defender story is real. Palo Alto's warning is public. The fight is over the envelope. Harder benchmark, no countdown, cyber emergency, or capital flywheel. So keep the definition close. A time horizon is a task duration threshold, measured against human baselines. It is not the length of time a model thinks. It is not all jobs. And it is not a promise of production reliability at 99%. The other keyword is unhobbling. Scaling means the base model improves. Unhobbling means tools, memory, search, and verification make the model more useful. Think of it like putting a stronger engine inside a better vehicle. Both matter, but they are not the same claim. Glasswing is the governance experiment built around that difference. Anthropic controls access. Defenders run the capability against real systems. Vendors triage findings, and patches create the public benefit. The risk is uneven access. The payoff is a real defensive lead time. The finance loop has the same structure. Supplier capital helps customers buy chips. More chips create more capacity. More capacity pushes the capability curve. Then the curve justifies more orders. That flywheel can compound, but it can also become fragile if demand is weaker than the financing. Here's what to watch next over the next year. If a harder suite ships by the end of 2026, does the wild 32-hour-plus benchmark still separate models? Does the next release make Mythos generally available when rivals catch up? Does the 89-day compression survive outside software? And do more Glasswing partners show Mozilla-style patch throughput? The 2027 question needs better words. The AGI race framing makes it sound like a nuclear showdown, but the useful version is less tidy. We may get frontier autonomy that is dramatic in coding and cyber, uneven in messy real-world domains, and deeply constrained by capital. That is not the old narrow AI versus AGI binary. Final signal. Mythos did not prove an easy singularity countdown. It proved the ruler, the release model, the defender workflow, and the compute market are now one system. Which envelope do you trust most? I'll keep tracking this and catch you in the next one.